And down here in the bottom right-hand side, representing Team Liquid, a fiery Terran player, it is uThermal.
That's right.
I like the way DeMuslim was describing describing the energy there. Kind of saying, you know, uThermal sometimes thrives on his anger a little bit. And I got to agree. I think if there's one player out there who really, I think when he's at his best, is embracing the dark side of the Force and just kind of accepting the hatred and utilizing it, it is definitely uThermal. He can find a rhythm sometimes, and he just gets explosive in his play. Some of the best Marine focus fire, some of the most dynamite multitasking and aggressive play out there. So
yeah,
we'd love to see him play some bio here, but you know, Mech is good at the moment as well, as they were saying. Either way, I think we'll get an action-packed game.
Certainly. I remember back in the day when, you know, uThermal and Snoot rivalry was kind of kicking in into teammates, but also kind of rivals at the same time. They would hit each other a lot in a lot of the big Premier tournaments. uThermal kind of reminded me of who Time is considered to be right now, like a very, very great bio-controlled Terran, splits unprecedented, multitasking unmatched. It was just so sick to see a Terran, you know, a foreign Terran play that well, and he is actually, I believe, the last non-Korean Terran champion of a Premiership event from the IEM way back in the day.
Wow, from IEM China, right?
So,
back in
yeah.
2016.
A bit of time between drinks for the foreign Terrans.
Special's been
a minute.
getting close, but yeah, hasn't quite managed to get there despite so many top 4 performances. And of course, uThermal would love a chance to get back deep. He's had so many near misses here at Katowice. It's a tournament where he has, for the last several years, though, always made it through to the group stage. So it would be a big disappointment if he doesn't make it through today.
Certainly. Ooh, RagnaroK with the spicy early Roach Warren here. Looking to be cheeky. This is the Reaper needs to see this, and RagnaroK needs to stop it from being scouted.
Yeah, this is going to be hit very, very early. I mean, it's such a fast Roach Warren.
It almost looks like a bamboozle when it's this early. Like, you want the Reaper to go scout it so that the Terran overreacts and then you just drone. But it's like just not a good thing. Like, it's not a good strategy to do, though.
So the way I think this is going to work is it's going to be a 5 or 6 Roaches, a few of which will turn into Ravagers. I think they'll try to sneak past the Reaper. I think he's hoping the Reaper will be occupied, blocking the 3rd base or something like that. And the idea is simply to put on some pressure as early as possible and drone hard behind it. But I don't expect any more Roaches. I really do think it'll just be drones there. Remember, no Ling speed started up. You cannot reinforce with speedlings here.
Wow.
7 Roaches, wow! And works his way back in despite being way behind on the economy in the start of that game. Now, as much as that was incredible damage, hats off for RagnaroK for just continuing drone production and somehow still having a 10-worker lead at the end of that. He just lost so many units, he lost so many queens, and yet he's even rebuilt his queen count to a decent number. His macro did not miss a beat in the middle of that.
Yeah, I mean, the queen count getting back up there, the drone count getting back up there, with the way that that works, though, you're putting a lot of resources into replenishing those drones, so things like your upgrades and your tech are just really not impressive. Bailing Nest just about to finish up. Double Evo still not done here, with 1-1 already on the way for the Terran. And I saw uThermal's main earlier. He's got 5 barracks' worth of production, Pig. There is going to be a big swell in army for the Terran very soon.
Yeah, 1-1 just now starting with that Baneling speed. Very important to get out Baneling speed. It is one of the most impactful upgrades in this matchup against Bio. The ability to close the distance with those Marines, get on top of them, and at the same time dislodge any of those tanks or Widow Mines that are sieged up with them. Going to go for the 4th base on the northern side as far back as possible, despite it being a little bit exposed by the bridges in front of it. And RagnaroK going to start to set up a little bit of map control with some of those Zergling spotters.
Morphing his Banelings here defensively, knowing that around about now is when the Terran is going to try and do something on the map, and he's dead on correct here as uThermal cycles down the right side. His patrolling Ling spots it, so RagnaroK consolidates his forces. He's got some Ravagers, he's got some Banelings here. His army looks all right, like the composition looks good, but does he have enough? Not a lot of creep spread down here at all yet.
Only 1 tank, but there's 3 Ravagers. Very dangerous, of course. The corrosive bile can be massive there. Ling's already looking for the backstab as well. They want to come around behind. They're going to flank this.
He's going to get quite exposed.
Ooh, he's gone in on the left-hand side, I think, with a drop at the same time. That's hitting the natural. Maybe it was the Banshees from earlier. Here we go, the Ling's coming in, but the Marines are there. Ooh, good, not wrong.
Yeah, getting a couple drones, very nice. 1-1 done for these Marines. RagnaroK going to try and come from both sides here. The Marines looking to try and escape, and they're getting the medevacs and get out of there, letting the tanks take the brunt of the damage there from the Zerg, keeping all the Marines alive as they are basically the unit that he has put into all his upgrade and investment into. He's got 2-2 on the way here, and RagnaroK with a pretty fast hive considering the start of this game, and a very nice Baneling connection. Tons of Marines went down.
Well, worth it though, I think, for uThermal to be putting that micro into this Banshee. It's got 9 more worker kills. It's keeping that worker count very close, and Barracks' 6, 7, and 8 are on the way. They're almost finished. 2-2 started. We are going to see a large, never-ending wave of bio coming across this map. Now remember, uThermal has given up 2 of his early siege tanks. He's playing 1 factory into 8 barracks. This is a very aggressive style. It does not do well once you are up against Ultralisks. And with the fast hive that's already almost finished, uThermal has a narrow window of time where his 2-2 is done and the Zerg doesn't have the Ultralisks just yet. He has to make stuff happen in that time, and uThermal, the momentum master that he is, he's not even waiting to add tech labs or reactors on those last barracks. It's just pure extra marine production. That tells me he knows that he wants to hit really hard across this map.
And bio is his bread and butter here, getting those Marines on forward. RagnaroK bringing in the rest of the Banelings. uThermal will let the pick up and get out of there. Nice control there from uThermal. But when it's going to get scary for RagnaroK is when uThermal is hitting at 2 places at once, which is something he's extremely good at. And RagnaroK's army, it is powerful when it's together and not very powerful when it's split up, which you will need to do when there's 2 drops coming in from 2 spots. That natural could be wide open here as uThermal moves through the left side of the map. This side actually getting cleaned up quite a bit, so the right side maybe not a concern for RagnaroK at the moment.
uThermal here, he's trying to tax and just wear down RagnaroK with these drops. The double drop being very useful, but it is now time, I think, to start moving out for uThermal. He's building missile turrets. I think he thinks there might be Mutalisks coming, but it's actually, I think, definitely something where that hive tech is beginning to get a bit scary. The 2-2 slowly working for RagnaroK, getting closer to halfway. The adrenal gland starting up. Viper's now out and consuming energy off those buildings. uThermal's got a gigantic army. He has a monstrous marine count. This push has got to do something.
I feel like it might though, man. Like, RagnaroK's gone in a hive, but we haven't seen an Ultra Cavern just yet, and he made a couple Vipers, maybe expecting more tanks. But like you mentioned earlier, there's only 1 factory worth of tank production. uThermal's putting his eggs into the bio basket here, something that Vipers are really not that good against. Yes, you can Blinding Cloud and mess up the micro a little bit, but, I mean, what are you going to yoink here? A medevac? One of those 3 tanks?
Yeah, Parasitic Bomb and the medevacs, not bad to wear them down in the long run. But right now, right here, it's not going to do that much. And look at that, those Marines just standing in position right there. The 4th base mineral line has already been evacuated. uThermal's push moving forwards on this right-hand side. That's a big, massive Banelings. But the Marine firepower is so deadly here.
And he's got a big pre-spread of a ton of bio units as well. RagnaroK's angle trying to pick off a 3rd base, but the wall-in is good. Sensor Tower for uThermal means he can react very quickly. That 5th base on the high ground for RagnaroK went down. This 4th here is now in the sights of the Terran. This ball of bio trying to bait those units and get in range of those tanks. He's got a bit of a spread of tanks, not that many, but there's so many Marines here with this push.
Nice Blinding Clouds coming down to start off, but those Marines are great Blinding Cloud on the back as well. A beautiful flank of Zerglings coming in from all sides. That was about as perfect an engage as RagnaroK could take.
So much for doubting Blinding Clouds against bio. It actually messed with the Marines quite a bit there. They're trying to A-move, they're trying to stutter step, but then move commanding basically through Blinding Clouds into Banelings and Lings. And still no add-ons on these barracks either, so just going to be pure Marine here with tank from uThermal with 3-3 on the way. There's that Ultra Cavern, so that clock is ticking here for the Dutch Terran.
Happy to see he's paused medevac production for now. uThermal has a ridiculous medevac count in this game.
Yeah.
This is one of his things. He always talks about how sometimes he gets a bit excited and builds about 25 medevacs as has no supply left for his army. Instead this time pausing right where he wants to on 13 medevacs. It's on the heavier side, but still a good number. He's still got a lot of that bio production. Tons of Marauders being added into the mix.
Yeah.
5th command center on the way as well.
Would love to see those extra barracks. Nice target fire, by the way. So I say, would love to see those extra barracks drop some tech labs, and they have. There we go. Great move from uThermal to get that Marauder count up and high. That's going to be his only chance, really, of taking a dead-on fight against the Ultralisks of RagnaroK, which are being thrown in. A pure melee army here of RagnaroK. Maybe there's some Ravagers remaining, but it's mainly Ling Bane Ultra against the ground-pound army of uThermal. But he is starting to make some of those scary air units for Tier 3 Zerg. The Liberator on the way here.
Only a couple for now, but they are so integral, as you said. And Ultralisks can sweep this away pretty quickly. We're going to dive straight on in-game. Ultras are about to hit the field. Kindness Plating still about a minute away. uThermal needs to keep trading. He needs to keep denying bases. He's got to keep RagnaroK small, because we don't see ghosts, we don't see multiple starports, we don't see range liberators. uThermal doesn't have any of the super late game tools. He's got skirmish power, he's got mobility, but he's still gonna struggle in a pitched battle. If those ultras can flank him, if those Banes can find the Marines, we could see his supply drop drastically, very, very quickly in a fight.
Yeah, he's got that fast, backstabby kind of army, but until he has like either a high Marauder count or a high Liberator count or a high Ghost count, taking a straight-up fight is going to be very, very tough. He's also gotten this far without any Widow Mines, by the way, to deal with this much Ling Bane, which is impressive in itself. Fusion Core on the way. He starts a bunch of command centers as well, because it's late game. He's maxed out. Time to spend that Mineral Bank on a little bit of CC power so he can get those scans for days.
Yeah, nice drops coming in there. Is going to try and do some damage.
Oh, his hatchery's so low.
Ooh.
Wow,
Nice
big off there.
Damage from earlier on in this game. He's going to start pushing in and branching into these bases as well. The Banelings, the Ultras starting to come forward. The Vipers dropping some Blinding Clouds, a couple of ducks on the libs. The Marines on the right-hand side getting a bit broken by the Blinding Clouds.
The Marines and Marauders stuck on the right side. They can't escape. The Ultras trying to close that distance. The Liberators trying to help out the Bio here so they can win the fight. Stacked up Biles there on those Liberators, taking them down. RagnaroK takes a pretty good engagement there. Yes, he lost a few Ultras, but uThermal lost his whole front line.
Yeah, uThermal there losing a ton of supply. The Ultras able to close their way in. No anti-Ultralisk power. It really is an almost pure Bio force. As I said, not only do we not have multiple starports, there's no ghosts, and there's only one factory building tanks one at a time. There's no way to quickly reproduce that splash damage to deal with the Ling Bane, not to mention tanks nowhere near as good as something like Widow Mines for dealing with mass Ling Bane. This is an odd position for uThermal to find himself in.
What's also slightly odd here, Pig, is that we're not seeing advanced ballistics here, we're seeing Yamato. So uThermal may be looking to go to BCs, maybe a misclick, but I doubt that. Banelings rolling in for the right side, killing a few of them there with the Marines and the Marauders on the low ground. Trying to get those Ultras split up, the attention of RagnaroK split up. That Planetary gets busted down from Zerg power here.
By pure Zerglings as well, he was just too slow to repair. If he got that repair up, he would have been able to limit that Zergling surface area. But instead, we saw RagnaroK Slings take out the Planetary. Great pullback micro here for uThermal. He's bleeding out a lot of units as RagnaroK. That last Ultra goes down. This little bastion of Terran units does survive. RagnaroK pushed back. 67 drones versus 59 SCVs. uThermal's got a base up in the bottom left-hand side. He's got a lot of command centers. He's landing a command center in the middle as well. I'd like to see mostly orbitals from uThermal in this game. I know it's risky, but in this kind of low economy, scrappy situation, I think that might be the best way to do it.
Now, getting the Planetary was huge there, but that felt like almost the overextension from RagnaroK in the end. Losing those Ultras, those Lings, of course, stuck around with the Bio kind of having Liberator support. I'm pleased to see more Vipers here from RagnaroK. They've been doing money for him in this game so far. Liberator harassment up here, a quick reaction from RagnaroK. Hasn't lost anything just yet, so this is moving that Queen around.
It's such a shame about that Yamato. That's got to be a mistake. I'm quite sure he thinks that's the Liberator range upgrade. It's a one starport on a reactor. And no doubt he is hoping to, of course, increase the range of those libs, get a few shots off against the Ultras before the fight even starts. That is not the case just yet. Nice little Marauder drop. Can take out a couple of workers. Not quite the high damage impact of an 8 Marine drop, but it can snipe tech and hatcheries a lot quicker.
Yeah, it doesn't do well against a bowl of Zerglings, but that's exactly right. That's what it's for. It's not for trading against Zerglings. It's for picking off structures, for picking off static defense, and not too bad against drones.
Lack of lib range, definitely a nuisance here. Luckily, this Liberator does find the opening where the Spore Crawler is not. Going to cause a bit of a nuisance on this base. But, I mean, the problem here is that there's a good chance uThermal doesn't realize that lib range was never upgraded. And that's one of the problems, because you're not going to realize until there's a huge fight and you go, wait a second, why did all these Liberators siege so close to their targets? And that's where it'll suddenly click. And things do come crashing down around you. uThermal, not the highest SCV count, but a great base count. He's maxed out again. 139 army supply to 106 of Zerg. That is a huge Terran force.
Certainly is. Going to catch a few of those Banelings as well, so a good start for this fight for uThermal, coming closer to that hatchery. RagnaroK needs to respond. He does not want to lose another hatchery here. It is a pretty tense, close game at the moment. All those Corruptors coming from the right side for that Liberator field, but in come the Marines from the south. The Corruptors are going to go down. The Vipers go down as well.
Those libs quickly re-sieging here. That's a danger zone. I don't think the Ultras can come down there, mate.
The meat grinder. Now uThermal with a ton of bio left over. Looking to pick another fight here with RagnaroK. Gonna have to leapfrog those Liberators further closer to that hatchery. The Ultra's getting right in those lib fields.
The Marauders doing some great tanking up front. The Banelings do all go down. That tank on the left-hand side did so much throughout both of those fights. RagnaroK, he's running out of steam. He's only got Ling Bane in the production tab. One Ultra, a handful of bruised Corruptors. That's not enough to deal with these libs.
Once the Lings are done, the Marines have got the Corruptors next, and uThermal takes game one there against Ragnar.
Let it be known.
It is known. I have spoken.
So interesting areas on this map to pay attention to. If we do see Bio up against the Zerg, is this watchtower low ground in the middle of the map is really an important area, because as you push forwards, if you can control this area and get rid of the creep spread, there's lovely ledges on it. And also down towards the actual fourth base, there is a kind of area across the cliff where they can siege up on that high ground in the top left of our screen and reach over and cover, and you can start to kind of branch into the Zerg's territory. So that really seems to be the key to success on this map for the tank pushes. But you know what? We've seen our fair share of mech here as well. Those battlecruiser openings, very common. Hellions darting around the maps. Hellion Cyclone in the case of some players as well. All very interesting options.
It's definitely not a terrible map for it, but I think that if uThermal goes with that tried and true, the bio-tank composition, like you mentioned, there are some very good spots if you can nestle your tanks in there when you're starting to push the Zerg, especially if you can get the block off on that third base on the on the edge of the map and force the Zerg to expand in a triangular pattern. That's a very strong push location for the Terran.
All right, the Reaper coming in, looking for some pickups here. It's going to take out a couple of Zergling hit points, a couple of drone hit points. One Zergling going to work way down to the third. It does want to get rid of that SCV that's blocking the third base. SCV going to start to retreat home. The Reaper going to come back, tries to get the Zergling tax. Will he get one? No! Great micro from RagnaroK. Not a single Zergling. It does go down. Very well played from the Zerg.
Very nice indeed. uThermal just going for a very normal opening here. A pretty conservative opening, actually. Just going for Hellions and getting a tech lab on that barracks so he can go switch it over with the Starport, go towards Viking and Banshee. It's usually the case here for the Terran. This Reaper continuing to lay that hatchery. It's a solid 40 seconds late now. And RagnaroK didn't start off with an early Roach War in this game, so it's not like he has a, I'm going to punish you for delaying my hatchery play like he did in game one.
And all the Zerglings survive once again. Man, they've seen some stuff. That Reaper has done a lot of damage. Hasn't really got any kills, though. That is a creep tumor. Exposed on the low ground, though. Bit of a mistake there from RagnaroK. Nice snipe.
Yeah, getting a little bit fresh with that creep tumor. Nice pick off there for uThermal. And we do have Cloak on the way, Banshee on the way, directly to Banshees, by the way, not buying any time for a Viking. And another creep tumor pick off. Always nice to get that in the early stages for the Terran. Really does slow down the defensive line of the Zerg.
Banshee follow-up is what we're going to be seeing here from uThermal. Reapers and Hellions just poking around, trying to keep up the pressure. Doesn't want to let RagnaroK sneak anything away here in this map. And it's one of the safest openings you can do as a Terran as well. As that just continues to move into that quick third command center. Cloak now on the way, as well as that Banshees finishing up. Spore Crawler is going down well ahead of time. That's a bit of a risky Spore Crawler placement though from RagnaroK. It's right on the edge, so the Banshee can work its way around the inside and find surface area on those drones.
Certainly can, and Banshee number one is going across the map. We do have the extra bit of production going down for uThermal. It is going to be Bio here in this game. RagnaroK getting that Baneling nest down pat. It is going to be done very shortly here so we can get some Banes up to handle the Terran army. uThermal just going to keep up these Hellions alive as long as he can, trying to slow down the Zerg, picking off creep tumors, drones. Here's a dream scenario. Banshee number one going down the south side of the map here. There's no second Banshee hitting at the same time, so RagnaroK can concentrate his defenses. Spore's not done just yet, so he might be able to get a drone or two and then leave.
Yeah, not bad. Does take out two workers and evacs over the high ground. Gets between the rally points. He's going to find a few more workers.
Nice.
Trying to transfer. Nicely done.
Yeah, 4 drones here with the Banshee, and the Banshee not really getting it dealt with either. Very, very nice for the Terran. It's only a small bit of drone damage, but it's chip damage, right? Just like you would talk about in a fighting game. A little bit here and there can definitely stack up as time goes forward, especially at this level.
Yep, those Banshees just continue to zone here and stopping RagnaroK from properly transferring down to this base. That lair has not finished, which means Overseer's unable to be made just yet. And things are looking a little bit weird there.
Yeah, the second Banshee showing up in the main base now. uThermal sort of cycling around into the watchtower here with those Hellions. The Banshee's still finding more damage here. That Queen exposed a little bit as well. She can fight back. The Banshee in detection range, just pulling back now. And yeah, this has been a little bit of an annoying bit of harassment for RagnaroK. Not game ending, of course, but still just a bit here and there. And he sees the double Evo going down. Terran's upgrades a little bit further along, as they generally are.
These Banshees of uThermal do survive for a long time. Finally does go down there, but not before. There is quite a few losses on the side of RagnaroK. More drones. Of course, the 1-1 advantage goes here to uThermal. That's going to open up a few potential timing attacks. It's always interesting to see the different sorts of games that come out with those upgrade timings, because it is so important. When you're talking about Marines and Zerglings, these kind of low damage units, but they attack very quickly. Every upgrade, every +1 damage actually makes a huge difference, and it really does help out there. The Spire is now on the way, so it's going to be Muta, Zergling, Baneling. RagnaroK, normally a player who loves rushing to Hive, but he is going to be going towards those Mutalisks this time around. I think it's a good choice, since the drops did so much damage to him in that game number 1.
Yeah, if you skip Hydras or you skip Mutalisks, you are kind of relying on just sheer amounts of units to deal with the drop play, which RagnaroK, to be fair, did pretty well in game 1 for at least a while. Marines drop here, and he is right on top of that with the Lings and Banelings. uThermal picks up the Marines and gets on out of there, loses a couple. Banshee does finally get dealt with there between the natural and the third base after getting a couple more drones. uThermal's work account is actually quite solid here versus the Zerg. Obviously, RagnaroK's getting closer to that point when you don't really want any more drones, which you get in the mid-70s or even into 80 as he did last game. Now, uThermal, also not too far away from being done with workers. He's getting that 4th base up right next to 3rd. A couple Banelings rolling in from RagnaroK, but looks like they're just going to die to the siege tank in that mineral line. Nothing really effective at all for the Zerg there.
And I think we might actually be seeing a swap into Widowmines. Very quick second factory here for uThermal, as well as a fast 4th command center. And his Marine drops just looking to pick off units where they can. And the creep spread is really not that impressive for RagnaroK. I mean, this series, it's been good aggression from uThermal, but nowhere near as much as in that map number 1, yet still RagnaroK's creep spread not really blossoming out into this map as much as you might want it to.
uThermal's Marine count over here, nestled inside that mineral line just to make it tough for the Lings and Banelings to get surface area. He's going to try and drop it to the main to expose those Mutalisks on their lonesome. Mutas don't want to directly engage the Marines. They want the Lings and Banes there to help out. And meanwhile, uThermal in the main also pushing back creep again here, making a worse creep spread even worse as time goes forward with those Marines and scans.
A couple of Mutalisks do go down. I think it was maybe only just one, but uThermal, good target fire, good focusing as normal, and the Thors are on the way. The Drilling Claws upgrade is coming, Widowmine's coming out, and a 4th command center already floating out on the location. uThermal here wants to get a parade push going. He knows there's a long time till that Hive comes out, and these Mutas, they're good for shutting down drops, but if he can just rally across the map, he's going to have an overwhelming Terran push. And remember that 2-2 upgrade, very nicely timed for uThermal. It is about 30-40 seconds ahead of the Zerg's 2-2.
It is quite far along. We've got a small pocket of Marines out here as well to try and catch those Mutalisks, but RagnaroK, quick response there, paying attention, thankfully for the Zerg player. And we do have that second factory kicking in with Drilling Claws. uThermal even squeezed out a Thor, taking the Mutalisk threat very seriously. But keep in mind that the Widowmines aren't just great against the Mutalisk harassment. Also, when he does begin that braid push, RagnaroK is just on Ling Bane on the ground. And Marines with Widowmines are absolutely devastating that ground army if RagnaroK doesn't control very, very perfectly.
The Mutas and the Zerglings regain control of the center of the map, but the creep spread has been massively delayed there. It is, though, starting to blossom out on the edges, and that is why it's about time uThermal got moving. He's got a 5th command center on the way, tons of Marines and mines, a couple of Thors as well. He's going to start moving out across this map. Just a single dropship on the left-hand side, looking to create some threat. RagnaroK looking for some huge backstabs. A massive Ling Bane in the top right of the map. That 4th base so exposed.
Certainly is. That is so many Banelings. He could absolutely bust down this planetary if he wanted to commit, and he shall. Down goes the planetary, forces a cancel on the 5th. And uThermal is pushing to the north side. Not going to let RagnaroK get away with it for free.
Those drops starting to move forward. The one on the bottom left is down there. It's going to slowly get cornered, but he's moving forward. He's within hitting distance of the 5th. uThermal's 3-3 now on the way as well. He's rebuilding at least one of those command centers that went down. And there we go, those Widowmines, a very present danger. You got to be real wary of those as RagnaroK. The Banelings actually coming in a nice little spread, and quite a few of those Widowmines bruised. There's not too many Marines left over here.
These Widowmines getting their charges off. Oh, a miscontrol from uThermal. The Marines walk straight into baneling fire there, and uThermal's push gets cleaned up. RagnaroK actually just way too good of a trade. uThermal doesn't want to play it out. GG.
But lots of medevac drops all over the place and just kind of moving his way through the map. Seen uThermal play this map before, and with it was with his traditional kind of 8-barrack style, similar to what we saw on Ephemeron at the first game of this series. You know, bio pushing constantly across, just one tank building at a time. So wouldn't be surprised if we see the same thing here. And as we said, the base is a little bit exposed to air harassment. Things like battle cruisers can come in. But the drops as well, working their way around the backside of this map, can be very, very painful.
Yeah, absolutely not wrong. It's a pretty solid map for it, but I feel like when I've seen Terran play on this map, it's been more like I mentioned, sort of like the BC opener. Just seems incredibly powerful. Even though the mech gets messed with because you have that small choke point in the middle, mech can be incredibly powerful, especially when you get to those certain terrains. Mapu's showing us the rocks in the middle rather than minerals in the middle that do make it awkward because you can only really fit the small units through there. Tanks don't fit, Thors don't fit, Ultras don't fit, but that ledge as well, like that cliff space with all the shrubbery around it, a brilliant spot to put your tanks when you're pushing the base there. So pretty interesting map in general, and just very different than the norm.
Expansion now on the way here for uThermal. Overlords, of course, for RagnaroK, keeping an eye out for proxy barracks, something that uThermal has been known for in the past. Yeah, CV Scout for uThermal, gonna come across, will block the third hatchery. Interesting to see, RagnaroK really has never wanted to run the Zerglings across the map to try and punish this if the Reaper does head over there. And RagnaroK seems to just be saying, you know what, any chance for uThermal to micro, get those little edges, he'll always take it. Overlords coming on back through the main base. A couple of unupgraded Marines just going to start to whittle them down.
Armory coming up here for uThermal. So with the medevac, there could actually be a BC Hellbat attack here from uThermal. And that is something that's pretty uncommon, but pretty spicy against what we're seeing from the Zerg, which is heavy Ling, banelings, not that many Queens.
Yeah, and I mean, you could always unload these 4, turn them all into Hellbats in the main while attacking the natural on the third base with BCs and Hellions as well. I think that BC is going to teleport right across. I think you've called it there, Maynard. uThermal does not have a lot of other things on the way. Doesn't really have anything like a third CC just yet. And he's coming right on in with these Hellbats in this medevac. That natural base is under assault. Hellbats on the front as well. That BC, where is it going to teleport to? I think it's going to go right on top of those Queens.
That is a few Queens right there. 6 Queens on that front line with a bit of energy for transfusions.
They're clumped.
Oh, they are clumped, Pig, and those Hellbats looking to put on that splash damage. The banelings on the left side. Split from uThermal on the Hellbats. No medevac over here to assist as the Hellbats and the natural get cleaned up. The medevac does get picked off as well. And the BC starts to carpet bomb through, picking off drones. This is a very committed attack from uThermal, so if RagnaroK can take small amount of damage, he can absolutely be in a good spot.
Incredible micro by RagnaroK so far. Those Queens did a full circuit of that mineral line to evade the Hellbats while trying to defend elsewhere at the same time. But also good prioritization by uThermal. He says, you know what, let's just go up into the main base. And the natural has taken out 10 workers, continuing to pick off units. Really good movement by RagnaroK, though. Just so impressed with how he's handled this situation.
And that BC has that dead space that I was talking about earlier to go down. RagnaroK getting a Spire. Second BC tactical jumping in here. Looking to try and muscle through those Queens with just extra DPS and so many hit points. That's a lot of Queens, though. uThermal might just have to tag out that hurt one. Baneling Bus going through that base there. He doesn't actually do a ton of damage. He just gets the wall.
Yeah, that's actually great for uThermal. He was very safe with his Hellions on the backside of that, and a few more workers going down here. It's so awkward for these Queens to rotate between these 3 bases. You called this at the start, Maynard. You said the dead space on this map means BC harass can be very frustrating to deal with.
If you don't have flying units, you actually can't hit them. So the BCs are just flying around, doing more and more damage, getting more and more drones, and they have tactical jump to return back home just in case. And it looks like it's not even needed here. uThermal just pulling back, happy with the 14+ drone kills from these BCs. Hellbat's looking to assist again, and he is battle meching behind this. He's been making Cyclones, Magfield's on the way, Yamato's on the way. So the Bioman gonna try his mech shorts on and see how they fit. And this is a good map for it, Pig, I gotta say.
The Spire is coming up at a pretty good time. But despite RagnaroK's initial fantastic hold, the follow-up battlecruiser damage has managed to keep him down. And what is the pattern we've seen in this series? It is uThermal in the Zerg player's face, and the creep spread just being so far back And once again, it's the same situation here. This creep only now leaving the third base, the fourth base only now going down for the Zerg. The Zerg player, especially against Mech, wants to be up a base, wants to be ahead in economy here. But uThermal keeping it on par. 3 battlecruisers out, a fourth on the way. Yamato almost finished. Magfield almost finished as well. Does have to be careful though. Corruptors are hitting the field.
Certainly. I mean, when you go battle, BC open into battle mech, it does usually force out Corruptors and Roaches, and that's a relatively expensive army for the Zerg. Even though it does do the job, it does slow down things like Tier 3 for RagnaroK. You know, at this point, he was starting, his Infestation Pit was done, he was going towards Hive, all that sort of stuff, but he's going to have to chill in Tier 2 for a little while longer. 3 BCs fighting the Corruptors over this base, going to drop some Yamatos as it finishes, getting 3 Corruptor kills, and then he just tags out.
Yeah, he's going to try and just kite his way down, but realizes, okay, too much damage, not worth taking that trade. Teleports out. That's a good hold for RagnaroK. If he lost that fourth base, ooh, that would be a disaster. His economy in the next few minutes would not be what he wants it to be. Instead, though, the double upgrades are on the way. He's got the Infestation Pit coming in. Lots of Ravager Lingbane to complement these Corruptors. And that's going to do very well for RagnaroK. uThermal, of course, with the Battle Mech style, massively skimping on upgrades. Only +1 armor starting just now.
Does have a lot of Hellions though. No blue flame on these units, so they're not as effective as they should be. Oh, they're so close to the Banelings. The Banelings are going to connect, but no Baneling speed. It's just barely been started here for RagnaroK. So the Cyclones and Hellions are very, very threatening. A lot of BCs showing up as well with Yamatos ready for those Corruptors. The Cyclones also keeping those BCs safe. 1 Corruptor goes down. In comes RagnaroK. Can he push back uThermal?
Those Cyclones adding so much anti-air damage. And those battlecruisers just so tanky. What a timing attack. 4 battlecruisers, a pack of Hellbats and Cyclones, and overwhelming the Corruptors. There's nothing left that shoots up.
Exactly, there's technically Corrosive Piles, but without the Corruptors, he has no convincing answer to the BCs. That hatchery is dead. RagnaroK with the Hail Mary going across the map here to try and do anything to uThermal to slow him down, but uThermal's rally points are good. He's down here with enough units to hold on. The BC even to assist. He's eating a bile on it, but the BC can actually fight back. As you mentioned, they don't really shoot up.
That BC so low, does teleport it out. Nicely done preserving those battle cruisers. One of the most important things. Oh, Zergling's getting in. Those SCVs have got to get out of there. A quick mineral walk. Loses about 7 or 8 of them, but the Hellbats hold firm on the ramp.
And even though his worker count's not amazing, it's 57 against 75, he is going to get the Spire. So however many Corruptors are out, that is going to be it for RagnaroK. He doesn't have a Hydra Den, he doesn't have an Infestation Pit, he doesn't have a way to deal with the BCs other than Corruptors. So getting that Spire is a big deal if uThermal can take a good fight against the Corruptors that are out now.
Oh, lots of drones going down there as well. RagnaroK transfers to the new base on the left-hand side that's just finished. And another Corruptor falls to Yamato. Oh, this is so expensive.
Certainly is. One last Corruptor about to join in. The Battlecruiser tags out. uThermal, I think he's lost 1 BC in this game, but still a lot of them are still alive. There we go. Good call, Maynard. And look at those trades, Pig. Did you see the resources lost for both players? Massive differences here with the Terran being way more efficient.
Those battle cruisers paying off in a big way here. uThermal has a 4th base up now. Hellions coming to the left-hand side. The units are close by, but they're not quite on top of it.
Blue Flame just finished.
Sliding in those Zerglings. Oh man, even Focus Fires the Zerglings. Does get quite a few of them.
That was actually a decent hold there from RagnaroK, only losing a few drones. Did lose a cluster of Lings, but they're relatively inexpensive. RagnaroK just trying to stabilize here. uThermal not taking his foot off the gas pedal. He is just always in the Zerg's face. Another Hellion run by here. 5 Hellions going for the drone line.
Oh wow, once again, Hellbats being surrounded by Zerglings. The Zerglings actually doing an okay job of dealing with this.
Pretty good defense, honestly. Very nicely done by RagnaroK. But look at that Corruptor count, it's just not there. That is a fleet of battlecruisers, Pig. That's almost as many battlecruisers as there are Corruptors. RagnaroK just starting more now in production.
Yeah, 5 battlecruisers is huge. They don't have any upgrades, it's just +1 armor, but that's all they need right now. There's not many upgrades for RagnaroK either. He needs to defend his 4th base, but right now he's running, tail between his legs, just a few Ravagers and Corruptors. That's nothing. There's next to no units there.
That's my line, but that's okay. I'll let you have it this one time as uThermal keeps pushing forward. RagnaroK just running out of steam here. Yamato's on all the Corruptors, and that's it. GG, uThermal stays alive and moves to the qualification match.
A smashing final win there after a disappointing map number 2. And the Dutch Terran player, he's living up to his legacy of once again going through to that group stage here. it might just be his year. Maybe, finally, after so many times barely missing out, he might make it through to that top stage. It's fantastic to see him go here against RagnaroK. Of course, he does have one more match ahead of him.
And what an
it's
opponent.
A big one.
Yeah, Trap next on the menu for uThermal. So a prize that a lot of people probably wouldn't want to win. But there he is staying alive and hopefully can show us a good games against Trap. We're going to take a short break and when we return, more StarCraft. Do not go away.